What?
It says we are live.
We're live. This is scary.
How exciting!
Yay.
So let me pull it up on here just so I can make sure everything's good to go. Turn the volume down.
There's me.
Oh,
wait,
no,
that's
a video.
That's a whole
Facebook, where are you?
I'm sad we don't get to use the mini microphones.
Yeah, that would have been a little fun. Okay, so I see live, so I mean, I guess that's good.
That's us!
Oh, look at us!
Oh no. I'm scared.
So far nobody's on here, so
Okay.
that's good.
Okay.
Oh, no,
Somebody's on?
not yet.
Okay.
Just us.
Okay. Good. If it's just us, I can.
And I
use
can't,
it.
like, here, I guess I can turn my voice up. Hello, hello, hello.
Oh my lord. Okay.
Could come a little bit closer. Make everybody sick. It's okay, they can hear it. Sorry, guys.
I love the delay.
Yes, it is very delayed. Oh, good. Hi, Chad. Hi, Sunny.
Hello.
Okay. Hi, Chad. Hi, Sunny. So I think they can hear us fine.
Okay.
I think.
There's just this little delay.
Just a little bit of a delay. So, welcome to Talk It Out, Talk It Out, Talk It Out. It's just Sunny and I today. Michelle is evidently getting some bees. She's decided to start a new hobby and got a call today about some bees to go pick up. I think she said in Goreville. So I got a phone call that she's not going to be with us in here. She may try to join live from wherever she's at, and I'll get sidetracked and stop looking at this and forget, because Sunny and I'll get to talking. So I wanted to, so this is Sunny.
Hi.
Sunny Vanzandt. She, our paths crossed back on January 4th, I guess. Was that when you came on? I don't know.
I think so. I honestly...
I mean, he was born January 4th, but I don't know. Did we start on the 3rd? I don't know.
What time was he born?
11:55 p.m.
Okay, then we started on the 4th.
So, our paths crossed back on January 4th, and I was a nervous wreck, let me tell you, because, first of all, first birthing outside of my two that I was a part of, and, you know, when you see your own little babies having babies, it's kind of like, what the heck? I'm probably yelling teary-eyed. It's like, what the heck is going on? And I was so nervous to be in that room because, one, I don't do well in hospitals. Like, I'm just not just don't like them. And then when I see my own kids or my own family or loved ones, like, hurting or whatever, and I can't take that pain away, absolutely crushes me. So I was a nervous wreck to be in that room because I was like, I'm going to pass out. Like, I'm just going to... And Casey was the same way. Casey was like, there's no way either one of us are going to make it.
I would never have known. You guys were very, out of all the people I see, you were very composed.
Well,
You said it, though. You said it. You're like, oh, I'm nervous. And
Absolutely. And you made that experience even more precious.
You're going to make me cry.
You're
already going to make me cry.
Than what it could have ever been. Because you...
Oh.
Like, we're both going to be bawling. We're like 2 minutes into the
I was
the
looking
live.
at the questions you sent me, and I'm like, I'm teary-eyed already. This is not going to be... I'm going to end up...
Maybe I should get some tissues.
We should have
Maybe
had
we should
have tissues.
Hold, please. Let me... You guys just look at Sunny. I got some tissues in here.
I wore my birthday
Because I-
specialty t-shirt today.
There you go. He's there. So now we're all prepared. Because I probably will.
I will.
I'm an emotional hot mess. So yeah, so that's how we met.
Yeah.
You were absolutely just a pleasure to watch through the whole experience, and we need more Sunnies for sure. And like, if a name couldn't be more perfect,
Oh,
I
you're
mean,
so
your
sweet.
personality and everything is just amazing.
You're my biggest hype girl. You're always, you comment on everything, and I'm like, you're gonna make me cry. It's so sweet.
Well, you make it easy. So that is what, yeah, you make it easy. And so I'm glad that you agreed to come. I really wish Michelle would have been here because you will absolutely love her too.
Yeah. I'm so excited to meet her. Sorry, Michelle.
Yeah, you're lost. You're lost
You're
again.
hanging out with the bees.
So it's just, so we're flying solo. So we may get caught up. We may be done in 5 minutes. Like, who knows? You know, I'll try to remember to go on here and look. I'm not the best at looking at this thing. So, you know, but people are watching. So hi. Hi, people.
Hi.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all. So where are you from? Like, what kind of information can we know about you?
So, like she said, we met, I was your daughter's labor nurse. Yeah. And
I tried to get her to come today too, so I'm kind of hoping maybe they'll come and knock on the door. We'll see. Kelsey, hint, hint.
I would love to see her and the baby.
Yeah, he's a big chunker.
Yeah, I guess if that was in January, I'd only been there since August. So I'm from here in Southern Illinois. I grew up here in West Frankfort, and then I went to school at John A., the nursing program there. And I started off in Carbondale in 2019 on the step-down ICU unit, which was a scary time because I was a new nurse, and then a few months later COVID hit and had to try to navigate becoming an adult, becoming a nurse, and working through a pandemic. So,
absolutely.
So scary. I worked there for about a year, and then shortly after that, I ended up moving to St. Louis, and I started labor and delivery up there, and then did that for 2 years, and then moved back home in August. So
nice.
Lucky us. Yes, I was so happy to move back. I loved being in the city, but there's nothing like being home. And my little baby brother, he and his fiance announced that they were having a baby. So immediately I was like, okay, well, I have to move home and deliver that baby. I have to. So, yeah, I've been here since August working in labor. I don't have any plans to leave Southern Illinois again.
Lucky us.
So we'll see.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't have any plans to do anything that isn't labor. I don't know what the future will hold, but it will always have labor in it.
Yeah.
Labor, delivery, and all things maternal health, postpartum.
Well, you know, healthcare field, it's a hot mess.
Yeah.
Has been for a while. I feel like it's just nothing like it used to be. And honestly, just customer service in general. Like, I always preach on customer service. And as a matter of fact, I'll even do a shout out to Bandanas. Jeff and I went Thursday night, I think we went to Bandanas. And first of all, the waitress remembered me. One, because, don't judge me. One, because she knows I like Tito's vodka. And they don't carry Tito's there. And so when we sat down, her first thing was, so we still don't have Tito's. Before even anything else. And I was like, oh my gosh. So that's funny. Anyways, the guy who seated us, he was just super happy and just great. You know, when he walked off, the first thing I said to Jeff is, we need more people like that.
Yeah.
Like, because he was just... and so come to find out, it was like his second or third day. He's new management at Bandanas, and he really sold it to me. I mean, like, we've gone anyway, but to that right there, that's what brings me back is the how people can just really make you feel so good, no matter where you're at.
It's so hard because you need those kind, caring, compassionate people in a service role.
Right.
But it is hard to be in a service role and not get overwhelmed and burn out and consumed by, I mean, the things that you encounter every day. Because even when you're calm, cool, collected, compassionate, not everybody you encounter will be. So that takes a toll for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
You've got to learn to. You've just got to learn to figure it out. Yeah. So I've got some years. So you know, it's taken me some time, but I think I'm finally there. But you're still young, so.
It was hard. It was very hard.
But to be where you're at right now and young, like, love it.
Yeah, it was very hard at first. I was so shy, and like I said, I was trying to learn how to be an adult while
you
being
were
a nurse.
So shy.
I was a kid becoming a nurse, and it was hard to take that feed when people weren't as receptive or weren't always the kindest. It was so hard. I felt I would freeze. I'm like, I don't know what to do at all. I'm just trying to do anything I can to make patients or people happy, and then you can't please.
And you're right. You're not going to be able to please everybody, and nobody's.
It was so hard to navigate though in the beginning, and now I feel confident enough in myself that I'm like, you know what? I'm here. I'm doing everything I can to make your stay pleasant. So if there's ever an issue, like I don't take it personal anymore, because I do feel confident in that I am giving the best care that I can give. So I know that it's not, and most of the time it's communication. Like, is there something I can do to what's going on?
Right.
Is it stress? Is it something I'm doing? Is there something I can do to help the situation? And if I can't, and that it is just an unpleasant, unkind person, it's just I'll just let it float off my back now.
You have to, and it's so hard sometimes, but you definitely have to learn how to juggle that too, because not everybody is going to be as receptive, or sometimes maybe I'm a little too forceful. I don't but I connect quick with the right people. So
when you're in labor, people are so stressed and overwhelmed and in pain. You have to come at with a patient presence.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I remember the first time being in a labor room before I was ever even a nurse, and I was like, I'm so overwhelmed because there's so much going on, and so much emotion and thoughts going on, and the mom and the family, everybody in the room, the presence is so stressful. So it's you have to stay that cool, calm, collected as best as you can, and that was hard to learn because I'm somebody that's like, I need to constantly do something to help you and fix the situation. And in that one, it's a natural process.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, what can I do to fix?
But I feel her process picked up whenever you came on duty that day. So, yay.
Yeah. Well, I think too, I learned though to be a supportive person rather than a fixer. I have to intervene, because that's not. Women didn't have babies for many, many, many years. You got to learn how, just to. There's a time to intervene, and then there's a time to be there and support their plan. So it was a lot to learn, but I definitely love what I do, and it took a while to find that shows.
And yes, Casey and I, we were a nervous wreck, and then when you were asking if we wanted to see, and I was like, there's no way I'll be down on the floor if I go down there and look at that, and then I was like, oh my gosh. And Casey was the same way. He's up in that. He's a YouTuber, so he's always like, oh yeah, he is. And he's always looking for stuff and just paying, whatever. So of course he had, he's like, I can deliver this baby, like no problem.
Yeah.
But then we were both like, I'm like, Casey, you gotta hold it together. He's like, you gotta hold it together.
He's like,
like,
you do.
Kelsey's like, you both need to hold it together.
Everyone has to hold it together. I forget often that it's not everybody else's every day.
Right.
So I am, I'm so excited in there, and or at home when I'm watching, birth videos, I'm like, look! And everybody's like, don't show me that. I cannot see that. So, yeah, it is. I am so passionate about it. And it took a while to find, not as long as it can for others, but it did take a lot longer than I expected. I thought when I graduated nursing school, my first job was going to be I was going to love it, and I was just going to thrive there and thrive continually. And at first, when I started, I was like, should I have not been a nurse? I was so overwhelmed and scared. And I was super depressed. So it took a while to find what I love, but now I don't want to be anywhere else than with the moms and the babies. It is. But like I said, it is my everyday, so I'm so excited about these little things that people are like, oh, I don't know am I supposed to be this excited about? Well, I remember Casey saying, whenever we're, in the heat of the moment, and we're pushing in the room before a doctor came in, and I remember him being like, you are literally sitting there smiling while you are trying to get this baby to come down. That's how you know you love what you do.
Absolutely. So much fun.
It is. Every single birth is so, you know, there are things that are similar about each birth, but things that are so different. And everybody's birth plan is so specialized to them. So every single one is so much fun. I mean, there have been so many times they make the comments where I walk in, they're like, why is it 3 a.m. and you're so excited, so happy? I'm like, well, I'm also a night owl, but I just love it.
Yeah. I wish we had more of you.
Yeah.
I'm sure, because I'm sure people after today too, they'll be like, "Can I have Sunny?" Sunny
on. No, I love when they do. Some people do that I've never met. They'll find me on social media and they'll be like, either like they're kidding and because they live way across the country and they're like, "Please come here, baby." Or there's people that live around here and they're, you know, I think that's what happened with us. Is like a friend of a friend or a person
Probably
suggested, and someone will walk in and be like, I know we don't know each other, but I've heard great things and I want you to be my nurse. And it's just so, it's overwhelming. I'm getting a little emotional. But it is, I would never have expected that. I feel like I did not have a lot of confidence at all growing up and in anything that I did, and it feels so good to get that it means the world. I mean, I don't think you're not thinking of it whenever you go home or are in postpartum or just any patient in the hospital, but that feedback that you give your nurses just in a letter, just in those surveys, it means the whole world.
Absolutely. The
whole world. When I read those, it's somebody asked me last week actually a question. They were wondering, like, how do you know that you're doing a good job? And there's a few different ways, but the best one is getting that feedback at the end when things are not, you know, I think it's fairly easy in the moment to say like you appreciate someone, but to go home and not even be connected to that situation anymore and to take the time to write that feedback and send it in, like that's how you know that you made an impact. And I'm like, me?
Absolutely.
In my head, I'm like, I'm still a kid. It's crazy. When I get caught up in the day to day, it's exciting and I love it. But when I reflect, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. It's just such a blessing.
Well, obviously you impacted me because you're here today. So I'm really glad that you agreed to come. So I do have some questions, and so I did send you the ahead of time so you can kind of prepare to a certain extent, because I don't like to be asked, you know, because I'll forget everything as soon as you ask me that first question. So, which she took some notes. So if she goes and looks at her notes,
I did. Well, I think the issue more so is that like I'm thankful to have a list to kind of mentally prepare, but at the same time, it might have been better just to not have them so I could go off of just whatever comes to mind.
Right.
Because I feel like partially I'm going to try to remember what I wrote instead of just
letting it fly out of the mouth.
So if it comes to mind what I wrote, good, and if not, I'm just going to
we'll be fine.
Whatever the next thing.
I mean, we're not getting paid to do anything. We're not, you know, nobody's to judge us. This is just us having a little conversation about how awesome you are.
I'm going to have to get one of those cute t-shirts too. I was looking at them, I'm like, which one?
Well, and I just got some new colors. So I just got this one done in the coral.
I was looking at the coral. That's very pretty.
This was my ultimate favorite, was the green. I mean, I love them all.
Yeah.
But I like bright.
Yeah. Well, the blue with your eyes is in the blonde. So pretty.
Thanks. I try.
Talk it out.
All right. So, question 1. So what inspired you to become a labor and delivery nurse?
That was one of those questions that I was like, this is a loaded question because I'm kind of answering it labor related and kind of just nursing related. But my mom is a nurse and my grandma was a nurse. And I knew I would always be in a caretaker role just from, I've always known. I just had that. I'm the oldest sibling, I'm the oldest cousin, I've always been like a caretaker, so I knew I would find myself in one of those roles. But early on in high school, I remember my mom had me sign up for the CNA classes, and I didn't necessarily want to take them, but she encouraged me to. And the moment I stepped foot in clinical, in the nursing home. I just knew getting to spend the time with those patients, and they're so, especially in the nursing home, are so fortunate and so appreciative. When you walk in the door, they want you to play games with them. They
Right.
love you to paint their nails, and it's just it was extremely humbling and a blessing to be part of that experience. So from there, I knew I was gonna be a nurse. So after that, I think what it was is I've always been, like, if you look back at any home videos, I have all the baby dolls. I have them all lined up. There's multiple videos with all the baby dolls lined up, and you know, just little girls in general, always playing house, and I loved being a mom, and I loved just always, I guess, even when playing those games, I'm like, I'm a caretaker in any single one of those kind of games. So I knew I loved babies, but the thing about labor and delivery is that I quickly found out, thankfully, before I went into labor and delivery, I got to do my clinicals there and do some shadowing, and I quickly realized it was not about the babies. When you're a labor nurse, it's about the mom. And once I went into labor and delivery, I fell in love with that. Even before, when I got to experience that, I didn't realize I would have that passion for maternal health. But after witnessing it, I was like, yes, this isn't what I expected it to be, but it's more than what I could have ever wanted. And one of my patients, it was actually in clinical, she had said, she's looked me in the eyes, and she was like, I see God in your eyes. And I'm like, I'm a little student at that time, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And she was like, He has a plan for you.
Absolutely.
I know He has a plan for you, and He has a plan for you as a nurse, and you're going to heal people, you're going to take care of people. And then, you know, I'm teary-eyed as a
like,
little
oh,
student.
whatever.
I'm like, I'm a student, and I know I'm trying to like pass my test. But it was, you know, so it was powerful even then. And that actually was a patient I had that wasn't in labor and delivery yet. So when I first went into labor and delivery, I had another patient say something so similar, that she actually, it was a patient's mom, and I felt like she was pretty stoic throughout the experience. So I didn't necessarily get that vibe that I was, I didn't catch the vibe that I was making any kind of huge impact or anything. Right. I was just felt like I was doing my job, and she pulled me aside I was leaving, and she was like, I just want to tell you, same thing. She was like, God is working through you, and He's talking to me, and He's saying that He has a plan for you.
If Michelle were here, she would probably be saying the same thing about you. First time.
I'm like, really? I'm like, sometimes I'm wondering what His plan is for me.
Right.
And you know, like, He's telling you, like, why can't He tell me so?
Exactly.
At that time, you know, now, like I said, I know through and through where I belong in the nursing world, but back then I didn't, and I'm like, all these people have so much confidence in me, and so I think that helped me. It helped boost my confidence in what I was doing. So it was so powerful, and like I said, I didn't feel like I was leaving necessarily an impact in that moment. Sometimes you can tell when you're like meshing well with the family, like with you guys. But it was, she just said such lovely things. She said, like, I know that God is working through you. She was like, you're so loving and kind. She's like, you don't see anybody's like weaknesses. She was like, in this particular scenario with this patient, she was like, you don't look at somebody and you don't see or treat someone different for a color difference. Right. She was like, you don't treat anybody different for their economic status. You don't. I felt so bad too, because her daughter's right next to us, and she was like, you know what, you're dealing with these patients that are you're having to move their body for them because they can't move it, and you have to clean them, and she's like, they don't necessarily smell the best, and you don't care. She's like, you don't even, like, you just do it with a smile on your face. And I'm like, in my head, every time I hear this feedback, I'm like, doesn't everybody? Exactly. In my head, I'm thinking every single nurse, this should be just the standard. That should be the bar. So it's surprising to me. not too. I told you we were gonna get way off.
No,
topic.
that's fine.
But
we're talking it out.
I saw a post the other day, and it was a nurse sharing, like, it was a picture of her, and then you scroll over, and it was supposed to be like coming from the mind of a patient, and the patient is saying in it, like, you know, forgive me, or forgive us as patients. We are scared. We're hurting. We have a language barrier. This isn't our first language. This isn't our home. This isn't familiar to us. We don't know the lingo that you're speaking. And I thought it was a beautiful post. I was surprised to see in the comments. This girl actually was an ER nurse though, so I love my ER nurses, but you know, they are in the nitty gritty, so it's easy for them to get calloused over because they deal with a lot.
Right.
So she has a lot of feedback from ER nurses, and I was so surprised in the comments from people that were saying, no, I don't need to do that for that patient, because they do see a lot in the ER, and they do tolerate a lot of abuse down there, so they're calloused over for it. And a lot of people, not all of them, but a lot of people do, they end up having to put a guard up. They have to with a lot of patients. I went down to the ER just to shadow one time, and I was going to give a patient my shoes that needed some shoes, and they're like, Sunny, you're not coming to the ER anymore. They're like, you can't come here.
You can have the shirt on my back.
When I say that about ER nurses, I love them. They are so cool, so smart. They see the most. But they can't give everybody their shoes every day.
Absolutely.
So I was surprised to see those comments, because I think everybody should have a smile on their face and be so happy and fulfilled going to work. And all these people are burnt out, and I understand being burnt out.
Absolutely.
But I am in the comments, you know, my boyfriend Daniel, he's like, leave it alone. You don't have to comment on everything. And I'm in the comments saying, if you don't like what you do, you should just leave.
Exactly.
Find what you love. If you don't love it, then leave.
Find your passion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, so we are totally going to get off topic. So, I mean, my life-changing event was in 2015 when Jeff almost died on us unexpectedly, some freak deal. And I know a lot of people say a lot of bad things about SIH and about Heartland or whatever they are now, or what, you know, people have their own good and bad stories. And I'm blessed enough to have a good story about SIH and how they cared for him during one of the scariest times. Kelsey was 15. Long story short, actually, because you met Jessica Phillips, which is now Milligan.
Yeah.
So that our paths crossed back and then, along with Jay Newton and Kendra Knaga. I don't know how to pronounce the name, Kendra, but some amazing freaking people that were in the right place at the right time during one of our scariest times. And Jeff was throwing up blood and stuff, and we just weren't really for sure what was going on and whatever. And one of the times that he threw up and started seizing in front of us, Kelsey just flew out of the room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just screaming for help at this point in time, because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And I told you I don't do well in those settings. And when I went to go look for Kelsey, I walked out of ICU, and Jessica is sitting on the ground with Kelsey.
I crap.
And just holding her for me. And, you know, she sat there with us for, until the doctor came out to tell us that he, you know, is stable, whatever. And I was like, do you mind to sit here while I go to the bathroom? Because I really gotta go to the bathroom. Yeah. And she's like, no, that's okay. She's like, I was just, you know, she's like, I worked around the corner. She said, I heard somebody crying. I came around and saw her, and I just sat down on the ground with her. And I was like, thank you. Because not too many people would do that, you know?
Yeah.
And she was, so that impacted right
Jess
there.
Is so...
And she's having a baby too!
And a girl. I knew she was going to
I'm going to have to come to that labor and delivery, I think.
Oh, I know. I was so intimidated because I love Jess. She's one of my good friends. And she texted me and she was like, I really hope you get to be our labor nurse. And I'm thinking the same. I'm so excited. I get to be there. But also I'm like, you guys are both ICU critical care nurses, flight nurses. I'm scared. But Jess, she's been a role model for me since I started as a nurse. I mean, I was on step-down ICU and she was in the ICU, and she's just she is the prime example of somebody that can stay cool, calm, collected, and be exactly what a critical care nurse needs to be. I quickly realized the critical care side of nursing was not, and I thought that's what it took me so long to disconnect and realize I don't have to be a critical care nurse. And I thought I did. I was like, I gotta keep pushing myself, and I didn't love it, and I didn't have that in me. And I looked up to Jess so much, and I was like, she's so strong, and she's so intelligent. I want to be a nurse like her, and I love her so much for what she does. All of them back there, because they work so hard. And to think like all nurses, or not all nurses, it just depends where you're at, but throughout the hospital, most of them make the same pay. And to me, it is insane that those ICU nurses back there do the work that they do. And they deserve a huge pay raise. They are saving lives back there.
Absolutely.
And it's so cool. I did see that where you commented on something and you're like, you know Jess? I'm like, you know Jess.
Yes.
I know Jess. But I didn't know how you did. And
that's
I'm
how. So she was, again, right place, right time. And Kidra was amazing. There was Rebecca Bullock. I don't know if she was another one that was absolutely, she was one who personally, when I was sleeping in the waiting room, had come to me one night, woke me up and said, hey, I'm off for the next couple of days, but here's my cell number. You call me for anything.
Yeah. And
I was like, okay, well, if you're giving me your number, I'm going to take advantage of that, because if I get my number out, and I mean it, same thing. I mean, she was the first that went with me, that when Jeff got put on event, I was by myself, and I didn't want to go see him by myself, and I went and found her, and she went with me and sat with me, and some amazing people. And at the same time, there were a couple people that I'm like, you do not need to be, they may like what they do, but as far as the bedside manners, and luckily there just wasn't enough, maybe 2 people I could think of that I'm just like, okay, go somewhere else. Because he eventually got flown to St. Louis. And then the people there were absolutely amazing too. Yeah. So during one of our scariest times, people made it good. Absolutely.
Well, it's to me, and I know to you, it should be the normal that we're doing that.
Right.
If you saw anybody, a young girl, run off crying, you would go to her.
Absolutely.
I would go to her. In my head, anyone would.
But not necessarily.
They don't.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that these things that you get praised for as a nurse or a person, to me, should just be the bar. That's the minimum. That's the bare minimum. But it's sad that not everybody considers one another.
And there's just not too many. I mean, there are a lot of people out there like that, and there are just some who are not. But you're right. I mean, I think this is just a norm. Everybody should.
You built a relationship with somebody, you're gonna give them your number and say, reach out to me for anything you need. But no,
that's
not everybody would.
Just like, because I do. I have a couple people that I can hit up, or I had family that was in ICU, and I was like, hey Jess, are you working? I mean, I'm messaging her on Facebook Messenger, just saying, hey, we've got a family there, and whatever. Not that I expected any special care, but just, can you go double check and make sure they're okay and whatever, because I knew she would if she could, and she did.
I did the same.
I mean, I know people, so I'm going to use my people I know.
You are, yeah.
As to where I expect the same. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy that I don't think anything of it when patients that I feel like I've built a relationship add me on Facebook, or they message me on Facebook, or like they've asked for my number and I've given it to them, and it's he's like, don't give your phone number out to people. A sweet soul reached out to me on Instagram. I didn't know who she was, but she was like, hey, I was going to see if I could get your number and text you questions about nursing and about fitness and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, sure, here's my phone number. And he's like, don't do that, which I understand.
Absolutely.
Side note, it was my first week of college ever. I was at John A, and I was in the back of the parking lot about to go into the school, and this guy pulled up in the back and was definitely twice my age, and he's just talking to me, I'm just talking to him, and I feel so incredibly uncomfortable, but he's like, hey, give me your number, and I was so uncomfortable, and
I don't have one.
No, I gave it to him. I'm like, I mean, I'll just block him. So I get home, and this guy's name's Carl. I have no idea who he is. I get a picture of him standing up like this, and he's like, "Hey, it Carl." And I was like, block. Block.
You go.
But I don't know why I did. I shouldn't have done that. But moving forward, I have definitely, just here's a random number, because I feel so bad. I do feel bad.
I know.
I feel guilty being like, hey, I'm not interested, or I have a boyfriend, or don't talk to me.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah. Especially somebody that.
Sometimes it just sucks.
So I get, that's why I got Carl's picture. Carl. Yeah, no. I have that one. I found it not that long ago, and I'm like, why did I do that? And I'm like, I pray that the day, if I'm blessed enough to have a daughter, I'm like, please don't be anything like me. I'm like, please be some very strong, mean woman. Like, please be, like, no, don't give your phone number up because you feel guilty or bad. I would never tell my siblings or future daughter, anybody to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
But it's
so totally
hard.
off topic on that one.
It is, yeah. But it's just when you have that personality where you want to be nice,
right,
kind to people, you get in a spot where you're like, no, now I'm in a little predicament. I'm in a pickle now.
Yeah, it's true. And today's world is just crazy.
And people do take advantage of you.
Absolutely.
When you have that personality, people do take advantage of it.
I mean, I think our types of personality, like, no, for the most part, like, I mean, immediately I'm looking up Sunny. I'm looking her up, and I found you, and I was like, she's probably thinking I'm crazy.
No,
whatever,
because we have the same person. I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, I'm going through. If I'm looking you up, I already know who you are. I know who your mom is. I know who your cousin is. I know your dog's name. Like, it's where I'm going back 10 years.
Well, so I don't know if you saw the episode where Kevin was here a couple weeks ago, and he was totally a random. He saw Michelle, he's a veteran, saw Michelle at the VA one day and just randomly went up to her, and he's like, hey, are you on Talk About It, is what he called it. Let's talk about it.
Oh, that's so cool.
And she's like, no, it's called Talk It Out. He's like, yeah, well, whatever. And I mean, so totally neither one of us knew who he was, right? And so they kind of exchanged a little bit of information, whatever, and I think he ended up reaching out to her and I hadn't met him. I was in the office, and so it was just her. And I think he ended up messaging her, like, Facebook messaging or whatever, and, I think she must have thrown out there about coming on and talking with things that he was involved with. And so whenever we were like, yeah, sure, which I'm cautious about who I bring in here because it is my husband's business, and I don't, unless I know you. So I start looking some information. Well, then when I saw we had like 5 mutual friends, and the friends that we were mutual friends with, I'm like, okay, they're friends with him. He's like good people.
Okay. I was like, what are you gonna say?
No,
like, are you gonna say
he's
like,
good people? So then I started like asking those people, and it was so funny. So then he wanted to meet us for dinner one night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but it was Michelle and I both. I would never let her go alone or whatever, And so we met up with him, and so he's like, so I hear you did a background check on me.
You're like, well.
So he's like, no, totally get it. He's like, I respect that. Like, good for you, whatever.
They should respect that. They're
absolutely.
Like, you're gonna dig a little bit.
And he's good people. He's been nothing but great to us since our past
good conversation. So. I did see bits and pieces of that. I can't remember where I was when I was trying to click on it, and it wasn't. I was not in a place where I could get good service. But that was.
It's okay. It's okay you didn't watch it, Sunny.
I'm just kidding. I know, I'm like, gosh, should I be brushing up on every single one of the episodes before I come in here?
Yeah, this is episode 14.
Is she going to ask me about an episode? Yeah. Wait, what?
14.
This
number
is?
14.
Wow, that's crazy.
So we think.
Number 14.
We kind of lost track a little bit there.
Okay, and we get our cute little microphones.
Yeah. All right, so next is, so I feel like we've kind of already touched some of this, but so it says, can you share a personal experience or moment that solidified your decision to pursue this career? Anything specific that just...
Gosh, well, I mean, I gave you the 2 examples.
I know, I was going to say,
it's so, there are so many. I mean, I went downstairs when I first started. They were like, we need some nurses and some of the greeters up front to come up here for like a photo shoot for SAH. I'm like, okay, sure. So I go down there, and this sweet, sweet woman, she was a greeter up front. She was being the patient in the wheelchair, and I was being the nurse, and we're just like posing for the picture. And it's similar thing, like I just said. It's ongoing thing. She's like talking to me, she's getting to know me and my name. She's like, oh, your parents named you perfectly. She's like, she's like, I don't know you, but I know you. And I'm like, what do you mean you know me? She's like, I can feel how good of a person you are. And it was just, that was something completely unrelated. It wasn't even my patient.
Right.
It's somebody I'm with, like, up front for taking pictures. But it's so hard. There have been many, many humbling experiences that have been beautiful ones and very, very tragic ones that I definitely feel. I hate to say that because I hate that sounds so selfish to be the nurse in that situation with a patient and say it was traumatic. But I mean, there have been times where people have lost it and they've been like, please save me. I'm already feeling, especially early on, like so powerless. I think that's why I didn't do well in critical care, is I'm like, I have to fix every situation. And it was so heavy on me that I had to go. I'm going home at night and I'm on my hands and knees praying, like, please save them. Like, please help me, use my hands to take care of these people. And it was heavy. So, transitioning from one of critical care with sick patients to go into more of a supportive one was huge for me. There's still really hard, bad. Some of the worst days I've ever had as a nurse have been on labor and delivery. But overall, it is a positive place to be. Because the bad is few far in between, and some of the things that you say are we say are bad. There's still moments that we're like intervening and getting on top of, taking care of, and then things all is well. So it's very few far in between when we see something that is a bad outcome.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh my goodness. I feel like
I know, we've kind of like said, so I probably need to like really look at these questions again since
I've had experiences where I've still keep in contact with patients that did just reach out after
although I'm not a patient.
Yeah. And family members though too, they knew. You're not the first one that's like, I never hear from mom again, and then I'm like, what was this patient's name? But I know their mom's name, like from people I've had years ago. And it's just being the ones that keep in touch. Like, somebody messaged me I delivered almost 2 years ago, and she's like, I'm thinking of you today, and I still have the card you sent me on my refrigerator. And I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to write you a card. At the time, they were giving us, I don't think we do at SAH, but at Mercy, they would give us a card to fill out. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to fill out a card for every single patient. So it's something that was just little to me, but was huge for them. It's still hanging on their fridge 2 years later.
Absolutely.
And she was like, I'm not tied to Mercy at all. She's like, where, you got to let me know where you're at when I get pregnant again, because I will transition my care wherever it is, as long as it's within reason. I'm like, what? It's like, you don't realize how much of an impact you might be making on somebody just by, like I said, doing the bare minimum to me.
Right. Yeah. Well,
So
that's just
there's
how we
just so
feel.
many experiences that I'm so thankful for. I can't even recall right now.
Ours was the best though, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
Well, and I'm so thankful for her, and I think I even said this that night. I was so thankful for her that she delivered so soon, but selfishly, I was like, man, I want you to deliver so soon, and now you're going to postpartum, and then we're not going to be together anymore. I'm like,
our time is done.
I need to wait a little longer. Because actually, so with her, I think that I'm like dancing the line because I didn't ever want to mention anything about that delivery without you mentioning it first, because there's like HIPAA guidelines and stuff. But she progressed quick, and I think we just had the conversation right before that where I was like, you know, when it's first baby, things can take a little bit longer. And then I was like, well, I'm glad I was wrong. Thank God I was wrong.
Well, and it's funny because when you're saying that, so Kelsey, whenever I had her, she was a quick one for me, and she was my first. And so when you kept saying that, I was like, I don't know. She kind of comes by it honestly, from, you know, because I went from like, I mean, we got to the hospital with her at around 3:15, and I had her before like either 4:45 or 5:45. Like that's how quickly I had her.
It's so, it's, I mean, you can't predict anything.
No.
Everything in labor is not predictable. But it's hard because things can take a while with first baby. And it feels like when someone comes in and they have their whole family with them, and they're like, their cervix is closed, and they're like, we're having a baby tonight, right? And I'm like, you guys can go get some sleep. Go get some sleep. They do. They come trailing in, and I'm like, I'm so glad you have such a support system. But you could also send them home or to the waiting room because your cervix is closed,
for a little bit.
and we're inducing. So yeah, it's you can't predict anything. But I love being wrong. I love being wrong when I'm like, you know what? Sometimes here's like a general rule of how things typically go. But just know, and I did it a couple weeks ago. Same thing. I had a patient's mom, and she was like, I really need to go home, but I live an hour away, and she wasn't in active labor yet. And I'm like, you know, I can't tell you to do that. I can't tell you that you're not gonna miss anything. But let me just say, based on how things typically go, I think you're good to go home for a while. She just walked in the door, and I checked her cervix, her daughter's cervix, and I think she was 8 at that time, and I'm like,
oh,
call your mom right now. Call your mom right now. And like it's looking at all the symptoms, all the things that were going on. She went quickly to an 8, and I could tell the rest was going to go very, very fast. And so it did. It really. Her mom was not there yet, and I checked her. She was feeling pressure, and I was like, yeah, you're definitely complete. It's definitely time to have a baby. She's like, okay, well, I'm waiting till my mom gets here. I'm like, okay, yeah.
But the baby
and that's fine because, again, it was her first baby, and baby did have, like, even though she was 10 centimeters, baby had room to come down. So it was her mom, bless her heart. She is sprinting down the hallway and smashed the door down, and the lights are all up, and she was taking a nap. And I was like, oh, yeah, we were waiting, just letting baby come down while we waited for you. And she's like, okay, I'm here, let's go.
let's go.
So it's nothing's predictable.
No,
I mean,
that's true.
Yeah, but that's what's so fun about it is you just never know. Nobody's situation is the same.
So one of the questions that's on here, it says, what qualities do you think are important for someone working in labor and delivery?
We also kind of touched on that a little bit, but I mean, there's the general qualities that you need to have as a nurse. I just think you need to be compassionate. I think that you should have empathy for other people. I think that...
And it's weird that not everybody necessarily does. So,
I found
unless
myself,
you're like
though,
an empathic person already.
Well, I told you, I found myself at the beginning of my nursing career, I found that the patients thought the empathy was impactful to them, but I found myself at the beginning, like, maybe I should be a little less empathetic because this is heavy. Like I said, I'm taking it home and be like, please say it. I was not in the best mental place, but
been there, done that too.
I've been, you know, I was doing my job as a nurse on the floor, and I guess like a good job, but mentally I was feeling it. But I think that now I still am an extremely empathetic person, but I've just grown as a nurse and as a person, and in the ways that I cope, and the ways that I have to recharge myself. So I definitely, the empathy just, it fuels me, and it fuels me in my job as a nurse. Like, I'm sitting there on a patient that's on antepartum trying to stay pregnant and is going to have to stay there for weeks before she has a baby. I'm sitting there on their bed, my legs are crossed, like, all right, girl talk, let's go. And one night, like, you know, thankfully nothing was going on, but I was in there, and I'm like, I realized I didn't have my phone on me, and they come in, and they're like, we didn't know where you were at. And it wasn't for any kind of emergent situation, because they knew I only had these 2 patients. So, but I was like, wow, I really wasn't here for an hour. We're just crisscrossed on the bed, having some girl talk. There have been many times that I get up off the bed and my pants are soaked in amniotic fluid, and I'm like,
Yep, there we go.
I need some like a little bit of a boundary where not just on everybody's beds, or I don't know, but I think that the empathy does fuels me in my job, but specifically for labor and delivery, I think you have to be so patient, and that's with everywhere in every nursing role, but in labor and delivery, moms come in and they have this birth plan, and it's your job to facilitate that birth plan as best as you can. This is their birth space, and you're being invited into it. How blessed are we to even be able to be there and support that plan for them, but also being in the role that you're in, educating on the pros and cons to each decision, and then also being patient enough to support that plan, but also stepping in and talking about when it might be time to modify that plan. And then again, they're in so much pain, especially kudos to those moms that come in and are going natural. This
was a natural one for me, just because it was too fast.
Those are some of my favorite patients to have. It's just so amazing when they come in and they're doing it. But it is a stressful environment, and it was overwhelming for me at first, but now it's my favorite kind of environment to be in, because I'm like, you have to kind of gauge what each mom wants, because sometimes I'm bad about being a huge cheerleader, and it's great for a lot of people, but some people are like, I need quiet. I just need you. Yeah, exactly. And they're like, I need you to critique me when I need it, rather than just saying, you're doing awesome. Yeah, so, but being patient enough in those environments to, there are a lot of labor nurses though that aren't, they're patient in general, but they don't like to have natural patients, just because it can be overwhelming to be in that environment. I feel like sometimes as healthcare workers, we do want to intervene, and they're like, just get your epidural, just get the epidural, you're going to be in pain-free with this epidural, just get it. And that's not in their plan. Yeah. And it's not my job to tell them what their plan needs to be. Right. So just being patient, and I feel like go with the flow, because that plan is going to change.
Well, and that was so with my second one, I was like, no epidural, I'm going to do this, because Kelsey was quick and fast, and everything was just wonderful. And then I had to be induced with Gracie. And then I was there majority of the day, and I was not, I stayed at a 6 forever, and I was just like, I don't want any drugs, I don't want to do this, whatever. Dr. Schneider was fine, Cassie, I'm pretty sure if you get this epidural, you are going to relax, and she's just going to come. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I got it, and then I was like, this is the best thing ever.
Yes, yeah. Well, and that's why I tread lightly, if they don't want an epidural, if we're getting to a point where they do want their pain managed, but they don't want an epidural, and we have already crossed those other bridges, I'm kind of inquiring about why. Because if it's just, it is hard set in your plan that you want to do this natural, I completely understand. But then there's some people that are like, I don't want an epidural because I'm scared. I'm scared of that pain. I'm scared of that needle. And then I'm like, let me tell you about it. Let me take that fear away from you. So it is, being able to communicate with your patients, it's a huge, that's every single nurse though, because I truly haven't had too many scenarios where I've had a difficult patient that has been hateful to me, because in any situation that I can feel the tension, I'm like, what's going on? Let's talk about it. Right. Because,
let's talk it out.
Let's talk it out. Let's talk it out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show up in this t-shirt at work, and I'm going to be like,
talk it out.
Tell me about it. Yeah, it's communication is everything in that kind of role.
And I really think Kelsey had the same plan of not wanting to do the epidural, and I just remember when I had first gotten into the room and hooked up to the monitors, and she's having contractions, and it was so funny because God bless you, Casey. he's like looking at the monitor, and he's like, "Oh, you're getting ready to have a contraction," and she's like, "I know," and I'm like, "Yeah, Casey, there is no sense in telling her what's going down."
She's like,
she
knows. You think I don't know I'm having a contraction? Thank you.
I'm like, you're better off just to just sit back and just watch it.
I'm so thankful that you asked me to come on today and talk about this, because so many people in my life are like, stop talking about labor. Why are you so obsessed with labor and people having babies and women's bodies? Why are you so obsessed with it? That's weird. And I'm like, yes, let's talk it out. Let's talk it out, because it's so fun. It's so exciting. And you guys were so fun to be in the room with whenever we went.
You made it just as fun. So, I mean, that's, there was definitely a connection.
It was a great experience.
For sure.
She rocked it. Everything went fast.
Yeah.
I mean, even pushing time. I remember at the end, she was like, "Oh, you want me to hold my breath?" And I'm like, and we talked about that.
Right, you're right.
It was so, but some women, they hear to hold your breath, and that isn't always beneficial to everyone. Everyone has to do what feels the most natural to their body, whether it be the breathing technique, their position that they're in. I cannot stand, let's just lay on our back and have baby, because that's just what we've always done. It's easiest. Right. I hate that. Do what's natural to you. So I wanted to respect that, but I thought that it felt best to her not to hold her breath.
Right.
But then one of our texts, Amber, gave it, and she was like, "Hey, it might be a little more effective if you inhale and hold that breath." And I'm like, "Yeah, we talked about that. I just don't know if that's what she wants to do." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll do that." Yeah. And what did we do? We pushed maybe twice, and then we were like, "Okay, let's get the doctor here and have this."
Why didn't we do this sooner?
But but
it's true. I mean, you don't know, especially first go around. You don't. And I thought it while you're pushing. I'm like, "Oh, I do think if she held her breath, maybe come down more." But I think I remember one of the nurses telling me, just like just hold your breath like you're going underwater, And I was like, okay, and yeah. So.
I feel like sometimes people in the room are like can get frustrated with what I'm talking, but if I just see that the patient is receptive to it, I don't care about anybody else in there. No one, not anyone. And
you're not there for anybody else.
I'm staring them in the eyes, and I'm like, all right. She's like, I feel one belly. I'm like, looking at her eyes. I'm like, okay, big deep breath, and hold it while we go underwater. And she's like, okay. And it's just whatever. If it works for her,
absolutely.
If you don't want to hold your breath, don't hold your breath. You want to push, stand up. You want to stand up in the corner and squat. Cool. Don't care.
Let's see. I just feel like we really just
we're hitting all the questions.
Everything with before we, and this is kind of what ends up happening. Like we send these questions, and want people to feel comfortable when they come on, and then we end up just talking, and next thing you know, we've done 1 through 10.
Yeah, we're talking through them all. Yeah, I was scared. I was like, I gotta do
there's nothing
get prepared in the car. Okay,
it's all good.
I actually forgot about the camera though.
Literally, I think we have. We've pretty much well hit it all up. Is there any specific thing, good or bad, that you? I shouldn't say good or bad. Anything that just really sticks out to you, that just one of those stories that was just like.
Well, we talked about the good ones that I feel like have stood out and made a huge impact on my heart, but there have been bad. And I think that's one thing. I remember one of the questions being something to tell someone that's interested in labor and delivery.
Yes, that is one of the questions. You're correct.
And you just have to know, like I said, it's not just babies. It's not a job. If you want to be with babies, don't go into labor and delivery, because you're barely, there's sometimes after delivery, I'm like, an hour later, I'm like, what's that kid look like? Yeah, it's not about babies. But then, too, to realize that it is a supportive role and it is a positive environment, but when it's bad, it's bad. And it's really bad. And some of my toughest moments I've ever been a part of in nursing have been there. And I thank God that they are so rare when they happen, but it can be bad. And you have to know and be prepared to deal with those. Babies are resilient. They're wonderful, wonderful little things. but there's many times that they need some help when they come out. So you definitely have to stay cool, calm, collected to get that baby to a stable place. All the time they do great after that. But then there's times where they don't. And
I can't remember if it was you or one of the other techs that were in there, nurses, that were just like, so when he comes out, I mean, like, he'll be blue or he'll be,
That's,
and
was.
it's going to,
I tried to
it is
get
scary
that
because that was a good
yeah.
conversation to definitely have beforehand too, because if I would have seen that not knowing that, I would have been like, because when you're delivering it, you have no idea what's really going on. Like, to me, I remember them putting my girls on my chest and like they were just colored and everything was great.
I did. I remember having that conversation, and I tried to with most parents, especially first-time parents, because I hear it all the time. Baby comes out and they're like, "Why are they not crying? Why are they blue?" Well, we give them those APGAR scores, and we don't even score them until 1 minute. And I even think sometimes as caretakers, we get overwhelmed and we're like, "Do something!" And it's like, give them time. You know what that baby just went through?
Exactly.
What you as a mom just went through, but imagine that baby, what he or she just went through. So give that baby some time to transition. We don't even score the APGAR score until 1 minute. So baby not crying, your baby not having any color, not moving, give it some time. We're going to stimulate. We're going to do things to help that baby transition. But you just got to give them some time to do that. So it's not uncommon for them to come out that way. And it's not uncommon even after 1 minute to be like, all right, Mom, let's take them over to the warmer and let's get them going. Sometimes you just have to suction out some more of that. They're in there living in their bubble.
Right.
Take a little deep breath of their bubble. So,
but remove them from their environment.
As much as they do, they're resilient. But there's some very, very hard and sad days there. And I think to cope with it, you have to know what you're going into. You have to know that it's something you're going to encounter, and your cup has to be full. If your cup's not full, I mean, you can't take care of others if your cup isn't full.
Absolutely. So Michelle is on here. Michelle, do you want to join us? See, I haven't been looking at this.
Oh, yeah, we haven't even looked to see if we said anything. We're just chatting.
We're just got all sorts of people who've been at least on and off. So I don't know if Michelle. Of course, I forgot how we could even add. Do anything.
I think Michelle can request.
Michelle, if you're still here, can you request?
I think maybe she can request and we can accept it.
Because I'll add you. Save video. We don't want to do that.
I was saying at the beginning of this video, my zipper was undone, so if I keep making sure my zipper's up. I'm like, please be zipped.
Oh, funny. Well, either A, she's ignoring us, which I mean could be.
Well, we ignored her. We ignored everybody on there.
I ignored everybody on here. Yeah, and you know what?
Did.
It says we've been on here for an hour.
Yeah, it's 5:30. That's wild.
Isn't that crazy? Because I feel like it's been like 15 minutes. But
I know. I was like, I'll probably be done by 5.
Well, one of the questions I do think that was on here. So, and so to go back a little bit. So there are some bad times that you have to deal with. Mm-hmm. And I was, my older sister, her first one was stillborn. Mm-hmm. And at that time, like I had already had Kelsey, so I knew the feels mm-hmm. being a mom, mm-hmm. And this was going to be her first. It was going to be a boy. And I just remember there were just some issues, whatever, and it didn't turn out great, and which sucked. She was in St. Louis at that time, though, and so I couldn't imagine being in those times because
there's every single. I mean, I've seen it from them being early on and being 12 weeks. I see them, some of the hardest times are right there on that cusp where they're like, are we too early to intervene? Or like, that's the hardest thing when it's like, if baby was a week, 2 weeks older and being able to intervene, it's so hard. And then of course the days where you have a full-term patient, and I did, and it was on one of the holidays, and it was extremely difficult. I feel like every time it's a bad situation, it comes on the holidays.
Hers was New Year's Eve.
Yeah, yes. It's crazy how it happens, and it's hard. It's already hard enough being a patient in the hospital on the holidays, being a nurse working on the holidays, and then navigating through that. And it is always hard because we're there for you still have, a lot of times you still have to labor, and you still have to deliver your baby, or even be induced. And so you have to navigate all those feelings of labor and delivery and the loss of your baby. And you know, as a labor nurse, you expect to be a part of that process, and afterwards you're there to grieve with mom and help her get through that. And you know, you take baby whenever she's ready, and footprint and bathe baby and take pictures and dress baby, and you still swaddle baby and give that mom all the time, all the time that she needs with that baby. And it's always dark on the unit for everybody during that time. It's a hard process to be part of. And the first term patient I had, it was so hard for me to get through that. And I definitely went through feelings of being like, do I even want to ever?
Can I do this?
Well, as a nurse, yeah, but also I was like, do I want to be a mom? Do I want to have to, you know, being a labor nurse, I'm going to think about all these things that could happen along the way. I pray for that day is going to be, it's going to be a long 9-10 months, because every day I'm going to be like, what, is this wrong? Is this wrong? Is this wrong? It's, it's a very, very heavy process to be part of. And that's why I say your cup has to be so full, and you have to have a place to recharge. Because if you're not, it will destroy you. And that's not just in labor, that's everywhere. And that's every job. I mean, if you have to navigate those difficult situations when your cup's not full, it's hard enough. So, the bad days are really bad, but they are so rare. And that patient that I had, I sat with her, and she did have her teenage daughter there, and her teenage daughter is trying to be able to support her mom, while obviously she's also navigating the loss of her sibling. And we all three sat in the bathroom together and sat with that mom while she sat in the bottom of the shower, and tried to just figure out how she was going to leave the hospital without the baby that she carried for almost 10 months, how she's going to leave the hospital without her baby that she thought she'd walk out with, and sitting in the shower with her as she grieved that process is just, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. And it is a humbling experience. It's something that has impacted me and caused a lot of emotions, but I think that you have to know that those are possibilities that you're going to encounter as a labor nurse. You cannot go in thinking, I get to, and you know, I'm so positive, like I'm like, yay, I'm a birthday specialist, I celebrate babies for a living. So you can go in with that positive mindset, you should, but also know that you're not going to celebrate birthdays for a living every single day. It's not going to be the happiest days all the time. And when it's good, it's amazing, and when it's bad, it's really bad.
Yeah, it's one extreme or the other.
Yeah.
And I remember too, you know, being up there, and like I said, it was New Year's Eve, and you can, you know, of course she's still on the floor like everybody else is, and so hearing, like, I just wanted to just take her, you know, and take her away from that noise and everything, just because, you know, it was unfair. It was unfair.
That's what that mom had asked. We don't bring them over to the postpartum unit, but even on antepartum, you still have pregnant patients, and it was hard for her, and she asked me to see if they could turn down the ultrasound monitor next door because she could hear the heartbeat of the baby next door. And
it's almost like they need to come up with a unit specific for
it's so hard because
SIH.
thank God it's so few far in between.
Right,
It would be
right,
closed
absolutely.
most of the time.
But still, I mean, it's just, I don't know. But I mean, I also, I mean, it was my sister, but I still experienced, I was there with her,
Yeah.
and, you know, so it would be a good thing to definitely have for those,
When I worked up at
times.
St. Louis, they had a women's health unit, and that was for various complications going on with maternal health, and they would put patients that did suffer loss over there on that unit because they were nowhere near postpartum or the nursery, anything like that. But I mean, SIH is so small, like it's hard to get completely away from it. It's very difficult. Like I said, it's dark on the whole unit whenever.
I can imagine.
The sad days are hard.
Yeah. So, is there any advice that you would like to give for any soon-to-be mamas or any new mamas out there at all? I know you're not a mama, but, you know.
Oh, but it gives me the fever. It does one or the other. I'll either be like, nope, it's the best birth control there is for me. Or I'm like, okay, I have the fever today. Oh my goodness, yeah. I love, like I said, I think that my personality is sometimes too much. But overall, like, I think it fits for labor. I'm like cheering them on, biggest cheerleader. So I love when people ask them, they don't even ask. I see them posting on social media about how they're scared, and I'm like, girl, don't be scared. Let me just walk you through the whole process. Like especially if they come in for an induction and we have that time together to take. I'm like, let's walk through everything. Or even when we were all together pushing, that's why I mentioned the APGAR scores and what to expect for baby, because if you know what to expect, you can go into it with a better mindset of knowing, which is why I love when patients have a birth plan, even if it has to be modified later, they have that birth plan there, so that way they can tell themselves they can do it. This is the plan that I went in with, and if I have to modify it, I will, but I can also encourage you each time to stick to it. If it's something that's hard set for you, I'm like, you got this. 60 seconds. Like, this is the most painful 60 seconds, but we're going to get through it. We're going to breathe. We're going to squeeze our combs. We're going to do whatever we got to do. We're going to get through it. And then 60 seconds, we're going to breathe, and we're going to prepare for the next one. So I think educating yourself going in and making sure that the people that they're hired to do that educate you. Ask all the questions. You can get the best advice from those providers, but also from other moms. And I get so many cool tips and tricks from social media and TikTok. Like, they'll have something, they'll be like, oh, you're having trouble tracking your contractions on the monitor? Take the little plunger stopper out of a syringe and put it upside down and tape it to the monitor. And I try it, and I'm like, this is so cool. How do these people come up with this? Like, where'd they think of that? So just, some people get frustrated as providers when patients they're like, oh, they did their Google research. But I appreciate that. I appreciate someone that's going to take the time to try to dive in, and I can, squash the things that aren't accurate, but I'm just glad that they took the time to try to learn.
And Casey definitely.
Yeah. So
he was looking it up.
There's so many things I want to say. Like, if you're a mom to be, you're gonna rock it. You're gonna rock it.
I just came from a baby shower today, so
yes. Oh yeah, congratulations.
So she's having a little girl in June. So yeah, crazy.
Well, I mean, if the plan for them is to go natural, I'll be there. Your nurse will be there to root for you, to cheer you on, to get you through that, and we will get you. We will get you there. You're gonna do it. Your body was made for this. It was created for this. Women have been doing this for thousands of years. Your body knows what to do. And if your plan is to get an epidural, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Like I always say, the bee sting. It stings when they numb it up with a lidocaine, but after that, it's just pressure. Yeah. Don't be scared of your epidural if that's your plan. Once you get to your epidural, the movies that you see, don't pay attention to the movies because they're never right. The movies where they're like, oh, the water breaks everywhere, and then they're running to the hospital, and the baby's like hanging out. Like that's not how it is. So don't pay attention to the movies. When you see them like screaming, pushing through the pain, that's very accurate for a mom that comes in going natural. But if you come in with your epidural, don't expect that to be the scenario. You're gonna be laughing. We're gonna be joking with each other. We're gonna be smiling, teasing. I'm gonna be smiling while I'm checking your cervix. It's a very calm environment most of the time. So there's so many things that I could say to a new mom, but just go in with all the questions. Ask those questions. Look up those questions.
There's never a stupid question.
There's never a stupid question, ever, 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 ever. I mean, even going in, I'd already been a nurse for 3 years, almost 3 years before I went into labor. And then I was like, I'm a whole new nurse again because I don't know. And I only know what I've seen in the movies and the little bit I learned like in nursing school about it. So there are no stupid questions. Again, your body is created for this. You can do anything. Come in with a birth plan, even if it's not one you wrote out, just in mind. What do you expect your labor to look like, but also be accepting to modifying that plan when we need to, for your mental benefit, your mental health, for your physical health, for your baby's health. Happy, healthy mom is so important. People love to say, healthy mom, healthy baby, that's the only goal. It's not the only goal. Healthy mom, healthy baby is the most important, but a happy mom is. We want to be able to meet those needs, so come in and tell us. We're there to support you. The birth process is a supportive process, and we'll intervene when we need to, but overall, we're there to support you in that time. We're so blessed to be welcome in the birth space. I mean, we definitely need to express our gratitude for how thankful we are to be in that space because people have been having babies for thousands of years, and the most natural way is not to be crowded in a room on your back with a bunch of people in there watching. But they do it all the time, and we are fortunate to be in their space and to be welcome there. So, I hope you get a great labor nurse that's going to advocate for you.
Or just ask for Sunny.
Ask for me.
If you're going to Carbondale.
Yes. I got my birthday specialist shirt on. When I wear the shirts, the most questions I get though is, "It's your birthday today?" I'm like,
when I saw it, that was my first thought.
Did you? Okay. They do. They always are like, "Oh, it must be her birthday." And I'm like, "It's not my birthday. It's your baby's birthday." That's when I walk in the room with everybody. I'm like introducing myself. I'm like, "All right, let's have a birthday together tonight." And I know I said that to you guys too. I'm walking in, and I'm writing on the board like goals for the day. Have a birthday party. We're gonna have a birthday party. So
I love that mindset.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's
never
my
change
place
it. Not that you ever will. I don't think that you will ever change the way you are, except to just better yourself. But we definitely need more of you for sure.
It's been such a pleasure to be on
I
with
know.
you. I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. I know I gotta go get some Mexican food.
It's
after
5:43.
this. I'm gonna go get some chips and queso and probably margarita.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm so thankful. I mean, I would love to come back anytime.
We would love to have you, even if you just want to hang out, anytime. I mean, now you know where we're at. Oh. You want to? No, but I think Kelsey's here.
Is it Kelsey?
So we're going to stay live just because I think she is here.
Should I sit here on the camera? I'll just sit here.
Yeah, just talk.
Yeah. Oh,
look,
gosh.
how awesome is this going to be?
I can't be left to my own devices. Oh. I'm so excited to see her.
I can't get the door unlocked.
I'm so glad you came. I hope she brought baby. I hope she brought that little man. Oh, I'm so awkward. I'm like, I'm going to sit on this camera and just stare at the crowd. How many people are on here? There's only 3. You can do this.
You want to see somebody who helps bring you into this world.
Oh my gosh.
Look at it.
I'm going to stuff my tearful. You're so big. You are so big. Oh my goodness.
Come on in, Kelsey.
Oh, I know. I got so good. Oh my gosh. Hi.
Don't sit in the glasses. Casey's here too.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
look at them little chunkers.
you were so sweet.
So much bigger.
It's so good to see you. He is. He's a big man.
Yeah.
He's able to do life. Oh, thank you for bringing him. I'm so glad you guys came. I think we were like also wrapping it up, so I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
I know, I just happened to look out
when they're
there.
ending, so we don't have to go on.
Yeah. There you are.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I guess my put on there.
What are you doing, Booze? What are you doing?
Come squeeze you.
I know. I looked at that and I was like, oh my gosh.
Doing? How's the parenthood?
Oh, it's lovely.
We keep saying we're going to have Kelsey, and we still need to do it, Kelsey and Callan and then Michelle's daughter and her son on here, just new moms and just kind of...
Well, and I just brought him right here in front of the camera, like, just, like, I probably should have asked before I'm bringing her.
Well, that's okay. I actually brought him to you, so,
Yeah.
you know, it's my fault.
Aww.
It's my fault, but you've been on here before. So maybe when we have the mamas back, we can have you back.
Yeah. I think maybe you need a sister.
If you could just totally...
I think he needs a sister. Oh, sweet pea.
All right, well, perfect time to end it. So thank you so much, Sunny, again for, first of all, being awesome. I've sung your praises forever now. So, I mean, I know I still get on Facebook and I'm like, whatever. I am your biggest cheerleader.
You are? I told her every time, I'm like, she's my hype girl. She's so sweet. I did. I printed off one of your comments. I was like, that's so sweet. That's so sweet.
Well,
what are you doing?
Hi, baby. What you gonna talk? You gonna talk it out?
Give me talk it out.
Talk it out. Are you gonna puke it?
Stuff to say.
Oh, that's awful. That's
No,
awful.
it is. It's awesome to come full circle like this and get to see you guys after, because I don't really get to see everybody after they've gone home and rest and recharge. And
then 4 months later.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
I know. I mean, to me it feels like yesterday. She's like, January. I'm like, oh.
Well, I know. I was trying to like go back and find trying to find something from your Facebook page just to share. Then I was trying to find an okay picture to share of when you're in labor with her being there. So, you know, wanting to, because,
I wondered that, because you were the camera woman.
I was
like, where are those pictures at?
Yeah.
Where are the pictures?
Well, and I couldn't post it for the longest time because, you know, she wouldn't let
You're
me.
waiting to share. That's exactly what happened with my nephew, though.
killing me.
Same thing. I was like, when are you going to post? Because I want to share.
What are you doing, Turd Bucket? What are you doing? You gonna talk to? Yeah, you so sweet. Yeah, you gonna talk it out? Or cough it out.
He said, and that's the end.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate the support. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna run away with this baby.
Bye, y'all. Have a good week.